So we started in December 2022, but we really started going in March last year because honestly with this business we've just had hurdle after hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. So we started in...
A big thank you to Casbolt's Motorcycle for sponsoring the podcast, authorized dealer of Ducati and Honda motorcycles. Okay, before we get into the next episode, I just want to say a personal thanks to Tom for supporting this episode and the challenge in general.
Dave, I absolutely love what you're doing. Great to be a part of it, and best of luck with the challenge.
Hello and welcome to the 10 Million in 10 Years podcast. I'm David, your host, and I've got Flynn with me from Sweet As Rewards. Welcome, mate.
Thank you for having me on, David. I appreciate your time.
So good. So we spent an hour or so recently showing you the setup and how to podcast, because you had a curiosity yourself, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a massive fan of podcasting. I've listened to them for 10, 11 years since they were... I remember listening to Joe Rogan when he was like number 250 or something years ago. And it's always been something I'm interested in. Every time I go somewhere or walk somewhere or drive somewhere, I've always got headphones on, always listening to... Most of the time it's a podcast. I thought it'd be such a cool idea to start one with my good friend Kane. So you're the only person I actually have met that's done a podcast. So I sent you a message and you were so helpful. You know, come around the next day and showed me everything, showed me the setup and showed me how it's sort of... You know, there's low barrier to entry. It's easy to really set up if you just want to get in and give it a crack. And I appreciate you showing us. We've done 4 episodes. We haven't launched anything yet. We're just trying to get a few in the bank before we go.
Nice.
Go nuts, but
Yeah, I'm pretty passionate about helping others that have got an interest. I think it's a misconception out there that it's really difficult and you'd need a lot of hardware and it's just like a hard thing to get started. But
that was the biggest thing. I was so surprised, especially with the technology now. Like you just literally plug it into your computer and you can record and then you can worry about video and stuff like that later on. But yeah, it was surprising, and it's good though. It's good. It means it's so accessible to people. And there's so many people out there that have a good story to tell. We were just chatting about it then.
Totally.
The people that have come on the podcast that sometimes you'd least expect, bring out the coolest stories.
Yeah, it's a good point, right? Did you see that Diary of a CEO business model that they've added, the Flight Studio?
Oh, no.
Did you see that? So they've realized that they have created by accident, I suppose, like a machine that knows how to launch, grow, monetize a podcast with the Diary of a CEO.
Really?
And so I guess they've created this offering to other podcasters.
Really?
So I think, and I'm potentially butchering this story, but I think they're doing like a trial with 4 or 5 people that have either got a podcast or about to start one.
Right.
And so it's kind of like an incubator.
Really?
Yeah, and so just applying everything that they've learned through the process of the Diary of a CEO.
Yeah. So is it like a course that you follow, or it's
I think it's an agency model.
Wow.
I think it's a fee for service type gig.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna pay, you pay the best,
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe they don't even know. I think from what I saw is that they're going to do a test with these 4 or 5 podcasters and see how it goes. See how effectively they can grow their audience and just see if what they've taken however long, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, if they can condense that back and apply it to other people.
Yeah, and then you can scale it, So, that's a cool model, especially if they could have in terms of a business model, if they could benefit from, creating these different brands and having a percentage ownership of these brands. That's a crazy business model.
It is interesting. Yeah, there's a guy locally actually that does something similar. He has a studio and we were catching up the other day and I had no idea that this is what he was doing, but essentially he produces a handful of podcasts and then any sponsorship he takes a percentage of it. And it's like a revenue split type gig.
Really?
I think there's a fee for the studio and the production, but then also the sponsorships split. Right. Yeah.
So if you're like myself or yourself, you can just go and use all the studio and the gear and stuff. And then
yeah. I guess there's some form of I'm sure there's a certain point that you need to be at, I would imagine, but
yeah. I guess if you don't have sponsorships and stuff like that, it's not really worth it for them.
Exactly, but an interesting model. I just get curious with that stuff, right?
Yeah, it is. It's cool. And like just back on the Diary of a CEO, like I was listening to Stephen Bartlett talk about how in depth that they go with that podcast, to the point where they'll research the person's favorite music and then say when Richard Branson was walking in, they're playing his favourite song like lightly in the background, you know, to set the mood, and then their mood is, you know, it listens to their favourite song. And it's just like these tiny little details that, you know, big podcasts or big businesses do that you can see why they're the best at it, you know?
I love that, yeah. Yeah, I'm just hugely passionate about that kind of stuff. Before we started recording, we were talking about that and about, you know, limited bandwidth and limited capacity to work on those types of projects, but hugely passionate about it, you know? Like, how cool would it be if when a guest comes in, there is like maybe a welcome drink. You know, the guest doesn't have to bring their arepas. And then like it's all set up, it's relatively not pre-formatted, but there's definitely some research been going into it, and yeah, it's just a smoother operation.
Yeah. Sure, but it's that over time thing, you know, like you don't start there, you don't start a business there, you don't start
That's a good point.
Weight loss journey there, you don't start anything there, you know. You start by putting one foot in front of the other. Yeah. Slowly you get sponsors on. It's a slow progression, I guess, isn't it? And we found that with just the 4 podcasts that we've done, it's like even just trying to find takes us a couple of hours, because sometimes you know, it takes us ages to just even sort out having to work these things, you know. But I guess the longer that you do it, you know, there's more little things that you can add on, because the other stuff becomes easy, you know.
Yeah, that's why I think I find so much enjoyment in sharing knowledge, because I know how long it takes to figure it out.
Yeah.
And if you can provide a shortcut to someone, then that's great leverage, isn't it?
Well, there's that quote, it's you learn from your mistakes, but they don't necessarily have to be your own.
Oh,
you know?
that's quite good.
Yeah, you know. So it's like reading books and podcasts and stuff like that. Like, you can listen to these super successful business people, like, I'm not going to do that because they've already done it and told me, you know.
I guess with learning firsthand, you got the pain associated with the lesson.
That's the thing, yeah.
So it's perhaps a bit more meaningful, but
yeah, that is a good point. You do have to learn the lessons. I mean, Hermosi's so big on that. Like, you have to learn the lessons, you know. And people that don't, and sometimes people will have a massive win so quickly. There's always a lesson at some point. It's either all taken away quickly, or, you know, there's something that always seems to happen. It doesn't matter where they sort of get to. There's a lesson to be learned. It's either on the way, or it's once you get there and you're unfulfilled because you've done it, and you sort of, you know, there's so many just little lessons that you learn through trial and error and getting
totally there. Yeah. So we were talking in the sauna the other day. We both are at IHF Health Club, sponsor of the podcast. I love
legends.
I love inserting these little
Christchurch's best gym
integrations into the podcast.
Yeah,
it is a good place. You've been a member for how
long? Probably coming up a year. I think maybe last June. Yeah, May, June we signed up. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, coming up a year. And the only reason we didn't sign up earlier is because we were living in Akaroa when we first came over. So
you were living in Akaroa?
Yeah. So I've only been back since last January. We were actually in Australia for the last decade.
Right.
And I've got family that live in Akaroa, so we decided we were going to come back to New Zealand, and so we sold literally all of our stuff in Oz and moved back, and then Akaroa was just the easiest first step. Come and see what New Zealand's like. You know, maybe we would have hated it and just gone straight back. So we ended up spending about 3 months in Akaroa, and then my partner Sarah was either going to leave me or leave the country, so we thought we'd better get closer to a gym and closer to some city life.
Some civilization.
Yeah, some civilization. So we moved through to town, and the first thing we did was sign up at IHF.
How did you find it? Do you remember?
Moving to...
IHF, how did you come across it?
Well, we actually went... When the first day we landed in Christchurch, we went and had a look, because we were just cruising around the city at Riverside and stuff, and then I remember my mate talking about it. I always go have a look around, and Ashley showed us, just did us like a tour through the gym, and I was just blown away. I was like, this is insane. I've never seen a place like this before, like in terms of a gym. You know, we always train at 24-hour gyms, or, you know, gyms at nowhere near the level that gyms, you know. And we walked through and I'm like, this is nuts. Like, you can have a sauna every single day. You can have a ice bath every day. And then we like even looked at the shower, and there are these massive like rainfall showers. I'm like, I've never even seen a shower like this before, you know. Like, it was just like the everyday luxury slogan that they say is so true.
It's very accurate.
Yeah, it's very accurate. And even without the premium, like, it's just a crazy way to work out. And someone that values health and fitness as much as myself and my partner and stuff do, it's a no-brainer, a place like that, you know. And I guess the price point is a little bit more than a regular gym, but where do you put your money values, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I mean, I can't spend enough on trying to get this right, you know, trying to get your mindset right and trying to get, you know, your physical health right, you know. So a place like that is a small price to pay, I think, for the benefits of the place. So.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I like how it's a filter as well. It seems to create a community of people that are like-minded to an extent, you know, like they all believe in that by default, right? The fact that they're paying a membership there, it sort of means that they have chosen to prioritize that. And for some, it's probably a bigger sacrifice than others, but I think the common thing is that there's a association of value with the offering. So
100%. And did I mute this?
No, you're good.
Okay, sorry. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I guess, like you said, if people are willing to spend that on their health and spend that on their wellness, you know, they're just a different sort of demographic of people, you know. And that Dan Pena quote, the 5 people you spend the most time with, you know, if you can every single day be in a place that, you know, there's many millionaires that just cruise around that you'd never even probably know. There's just business operators, there's so many people, there's, you know, fitness people that you can just learn so much from. So, and it's just sort of a melting pot of conversations like these and people like yourself and, you know, people like Dan, the owner and stuff. It's just it's hard to find places like that. You know, everyone says find a community of, you know, these people, but it's actually quite hard. And unless you put yourself in a position like that gym or, you know, do sort of, you know, events and stuff like you do, it's not always easy, especially if you're trying to get from, you know, I was a tradie in the past, so if you're trying to get from that tradie life to, you know, a business and all these different things, it's hard to leave the circles you're in and try to find these new ones. And, you know, you really got to put yourself out there. And I think finding a place that encompasses all of that is pretty special. So
yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a really good point. You know, like, where do you go to find like-minded people? You know, like, I guess there's a variety of different options, you know, whether there's like sports teams or business networking things, or say like the Canterbury Club, or maybe like industry specific stuff. I don't know. I mean, I guess like if you've got kids, like the schools, like maybe the local community, I don't know.
Yeah, it is tricky. And especially like moving back to New Zealand was one of the best things we've done in terms of putting ourselves out there and making new connections, you know, because living in Darwin for 10 years, you just get, you know, you get your friends, you get everything, you know, and then you just, right, we're leaving. And we've had friends. I grew up here, so I've got old friends and stuff like that. But, you know, you just have to put yourself, especially my partner, Sarah, she, you know, she's got no family here, nothing like that. So she's really had to put herself out there. But I think it's so beneficial to learn that skill of just having a conversation in the sauna, you know, or just
totally
sitting next to someone and say, hey, like, what do you do? Like, it's such an important skill to be able to network
agree.
and just, you learn so much from people. I love people, man. Like, I love having conversations with people because, you know, whether you like the person or not, you learn something from it. Or
that's a great perspective. Yeah, my dad's an expert at just talking to people, right?
Yeah.
Almost to the point of like, not embarrassment, but like he's just not afraid. He doesn't care. He loves that, right?
Yeah,
and so like I remember one time we're at the supermarket and these bikies pull up. I don't think they were patched, but they were sort of the one step below being like fully gang patched up, right? And he's just like talking about the motorbikes and just having a yarn, right?
Yeah, it's such an important skill to have because
I think so.
My mum is exactly the same. She'll have conversations and we'll, you know, be going out for dinner or something and we'll turn around and she's talking to like the homeless person or whoever. It literally doesn't matter to her who the person is, and we're like, Mum, come on, we've got like a dinner as well, you know. But it's, I guess we grew up around that, so
Rubbed
it's just it's osmosis, you know. We do the same thing, and you know, whether you have a conversation with someone and sometimes you learn something about yourself, you know, you have a conversation with someone you wouldn't normally, and you go, oh, like these preconceived notions that I had about a demographic or something was all completely wrong, you know. So yeah, I think it's a skill. I think it's such a good thing to be able to do, and it's hard though. It is tricky. It's not always easy.
I found that when I did 75 Hard Phase 3, that's one of the requirements. to tick off is to talk to a stranger every day.
Really?
And because it's not necessarily like within your control, right? Like you can always do the workouts, like that's on you, but you need to find these people, right? So it really like opened up the awareness system for like finding new people and being totally like willing to get outside of your comfort zone. It was a really great challenge because it was probably the one that I dreaded the most, but the one that I got the most value from.
Really?
Just because like it is a muscle to sort of flex, right? And I don't like being boring about it. Like I like to try and have a meaningful conversation. You know, like,
because you don't want to have one for just the sake of having.
No, and it's, I guess like I'm naturally curious. Like you know, I get interested with people. Like what drives people. You know, like what's your story? Like what's the what motivates you? Like what are you working on?
How did was that recently that you did that? Or?
It was late. Last year I finished, I think it was early last year. Cool. February last year it finished.
How did you find, like, what sort of things did you do, you know, on a day-to-day basis? Would you go out and look for, you know?
So with phase 3, that's the most intense one. It's 30 days long and it's got a whole bunch of requirements. I don't remember exactly what it's got, but it's got like the talking to a stranger, the normal 75 hard stuff, so the 2 workouts, the 4 liters of water or the gallon of water, 10 pages of a book, the progress photo. I think you've got to add 3 power list items, so whatever that may be for you on the day. So whether that's like 10 minutes of meditation or stretching or whatever, and then 5-minute cold shower, which again, that was like one of the things that I dreaded, but
5-minute cold shower.
But yet that was like one of the better ones. You know? So I think there's something in that. The thing that like you dread the most is often the best thing for you.
It's always the way. This year I've sort of had this thing where if the little voice inside your head says no, don't do that, I'll force myself to do it. You know. So and there's been heaps of positions this year that, because of that, I've just pushed myself to do it. You know, like I've started doing Toastmasters. Because I've never really loved public speaking. So I thought, well, this is the best place for it, you know? And I went along to a couple and I'm like, this I don't know if I like standing up here very much. And then that voice in your head, like, just don't do it. Why do you have to go? You don't have to go. But, you know, now I've signed up and I've been going every week. And once you get over that, this is scary, you go, oh, like it's not
actually that bad.
It's not, that's right. It's not that bad. I've got a bit more confidence in myself than I initially thought, and I'm only going to get better. You know, if I suck this much at the start, this as bad as I'm ever going to be. You know, so I can only get better.
That's so good. That's exactly my logic with the podcast. Right? It can only get better, hopefully.
And the thing, you know, even with the podcast, I'm like, it's going to be so bad, no one's going to listen, and I'm like, exactly, 3 people might listen to my bad podcast at the start. Who cares?
It's not about that, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
I think people are so quick to care about metrics, but it just doesn't matter.
No,
you know, like this obsession. I think social media's enabled this kind of mindset, right? Like the comparison to others' followers counts or whatever that might be. Right? It's super unhealthy.
Massively, and I'm a sucker for it. I mean, so many people, you look at these lifestyles on Instagram and social media and you go, how can this person do that? You know, like, and a lot of it's fake. A lot of these people have not done that, or they're renting these cars, or the watches are fake, or they're living their credit cards are maxed out. You know, there's a very small segment of people that are actually the Hermoses of the world, you know, the people that are actually doing what they say that they're doing. And you get so sucked into it and be like, oh man, like, and you know, your own ego gets in your way, and your own, you know, you go, oh, I'm as smart as that person, or I'm smarter than you. Why haven't I figured it out? And it's such a detrimental thing, because then you go, well, I'm not even going to bother trying anymore, because I try really hard and I'm not there. So why keep trying, you know? And it's, you really got to be careful of that black hole that is social media.
Absolutely.
You know? Use it to inspire yourself, but don't use it to. If you can feel yourself slipping, you know, just get rid of it, or get rid of it for a couple of weeks.
It's really healthy to do that. I've done that a few times, and
you did that recently, didn't you?
Yeah. I did 6 weeks off it.
Cool. How did you find it?
best move ever.
Yeah,
super good.
Yeah,
really good to reset. Same with booze. Like that was the whole thing with 75 Hard. For me anyway, it was like having that 2.5 months off it. It was like a recalibration. And totally recommend it.
It's just completely resetting the programming, you know. When you go out for dinners or go out for something and you're like, I'll just have a wine with dinner or this. But when you've got this thing that you say, well, I can't because I'm doing this, you learn how to, in the future, go out and be like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't have to do it because I did it then and now I'm going to do it now, you know. So I think those challenges are so good for that because they sort of just retrain your mind to say, I can say no if I don't want to. And I can say yes if I want to.
And when it's a binary, like no, there's no like wiggle room. And I think with alcohol, it's really easy, for me anyway, to be like, well, you know, and then it's a hot day or it's been a good day or whatever, right? The day ends with Y, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
That's another reason.
100%.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, or it's getting cold. So
it's getting cold,
you know? But it's a funny one. Alcohol's a big one, and I haven't really had that one with alcohol, which is good. I've got it with food, man. I love food so much, you know? So, but I think it's such a hard one to give up, especially when it's a social thing, you know? In my family, like we'll catch up and we'll have dinners or we'll catch up and we'll have lunch, and it's always food related, and for a lot of people it's always alcohol related. Even my friends, a lot of my mates, like, let's go for a beer, and I'm like, can't we go for like a coffee or something?
Or a walk, or like go to the gym or go to the sauna. I know.
So social catch-ups even become around alcohol or become around food, you know. So there's such big things that can be a detriment to people, and you know, there's such a social thing for people to do. So it is really hard to give them up, and I think those challenges are so good for that reset, you know. I just have really noticed lately the effects alcohol has on people. Like I was at a restaurant bar in the West Coast the other day, and I was like looking around and I was just like, fuck, I don't want to become like that, you know. Like this is not good. Like this does not look healthy. Like these people are just not looking good, you know. And it was just like that sort of glimpse into the future, right? Well, that's what it is, hey. And that might be it for me, like why I haven't, because you know there's some alcoholism in my family, and I just don't like the person that they are when they drink, you know. And I'm like, well, I've got all their genes, you know, it's all mixed in here somewhere. So if I don't like that, exactly, you know, and if I keep going down that route, I could end up there, and I don't like that person. I don't want to not like myself, you know. So
I think the more conversations like this that are out there, like I've got a few friends that have gone off it, you know, completely. And this one chick, Lisa, she's like, you know, an advocate for it now, and it's like, it's really interesting to see how that's like just bucking the trend, and there's just so much pushback. Just because it's different, right? People don't like things that are different, it seems.
No, not at all. And it's funny, like you might even find if you go out with your friends and you're like, I'll just have a zero or I'll have a Coke or whatever. They're like,
what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, how messed up is that, right?
I know, it's such a, and I'm like, I mean, it is poison. Like the stuff it's not good for you. We all know that. It's
chemically a poison.
Yeah, and you're all like making me feel bad about not wanting to drink it, you know?
Crazy.
It's a weird thing, hey?
It is.
And is it because people know it in themselves that it's not that great and they want to bring people with them, or I can never really figure out what that is, you know?
I'm not sure. I think it's probably a disconnect somewhere with someone's own confidence, you know, and their abilities or like their sort of mental state. You know, if they feel the need to try and ostracize someone for not partaking.
Is it to make them make it feel better for them that they're, I don't know. I don't know, but it's a tricky one to navigate.
Hey, so you went to Tony Robbins.
Yes, we went to Tony Robbins. We've been to a couple now. We went in September last year. We went to Sydney. He did an event called UPW, and Sarah got that for my birthday the year before. And it was the first real glimpse into the Tony Robbins life. We, you know, I've read his books years ago and that sort of thing. He's been around for such a long time. And we saw him pop up and we're like, we'll go and give it a go. And it was a 4-day event. And we walked out after 4 days and went, whoa. Like, it was such a life-changing event in terms of just on so many levels. So you walked out with a completely different mindset about life and that sort of thing. And then there was about 11,000 people that all went to the event. It was at a big arena in Sydney. And then you walked out with these people, like complete strangers on day one when you walk in. And then you walk out with like 50 new like best mates, all on like the same business path or mindset path and all of the stuff. And it was just so crazy to see what, you know, Tony Robbins is the main, but you know, the whole event and everything he sort of puts you through over the 4 days, how you can become like so connected with people over such a short amount of time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And just the rapid mindset changes that you can have like that, you know. And then so from there we went to his next one, which was even bigger. That was in America. It was called Date with Destiny, and that was a 5-6 day event. This is so intense too, you know. They start at 10 o'clock in the morning and finish at 3 or 4 a.m. Like,
wow.
Yeah, they're massive days. And you just, like the first 2 days, I was so over it. I'm like, I'm tired, I'm sore, like my feet are sore. And then it's like this weird, day 3 is like this weird thing comes over you. And it honestly feels like you've just taken these drugs. And people are walking around with like massively dilated pupils. And I don't know, you have to experience it to know what I'm talking about. But you just feel like everyone like loves you. You just be like walking around and someone will just like come up and hug you and like carry on, and you've never even see him again. And you know, right. It's just this weird, it's almost like you know, you'd imagine like Woodstock or something. Where,
right.
You know, it's kind of like that, but there's no alcohol, there's no drugs.
No.
You know, it's just like all off people's like mind and emotion, and you know, he'll get you up and like they have dancers come out and they make you move around a lot and that sort of thing. And it's amazing what you can just do with your human mind, you know, how you can change your state from day 1 and 2 where I was over it miserable to day 3 where I was just like loving everyone. And you know, there's just a crazy following 4 days, and there's just massive takeaways, because what he does, you know, there's different days. They have relationship day and mindset, and you're basically trying to pull all of your old thought patterns out and all of the old processes that your brain does and rewire new stuff in. And he'll use things like, he'll say change your state. So he'll get you up and make you dance and do all this crazy stuff, and then sit you down and he'll teach you something. So you're in this super heightened state. You know, you go for a run and someone will have a conversation after you, and you can really take a lot in. So this is the idea behind it. And I mean, the biggest takeaways that we got from it is like I said, that rapid change. You know, if someone cuts you off in traffic, you can go from having a great day to super angry in like 0.1 of a second, you know. But why can't you do that the other way? Why can't you be sitting around having a crap day, everything is piled up on you? Why can't you just be like, I'm going to be happy, you know? And I guess it was just a example of that on a massive scale with thousands of people, of how you can just completely change the way that you're thinking, the way that your brain's working, you know. So yeah, if anyone has ever looked into the Tony Robbins world, I would definitely recommend it, because it's pretty incredible.
Do they still do the firewalk?
Yeah.
Or the coal walk, the hot coals?
Yeah. That was the one in Sydney.
Yeah.
So they had like 14,000 people, and I think they had like 10 big firewalk things, and they got pretty much all of them to go through. There were a couple of people that didn't want to do it, but they're probably 8-9 meters. They're like long enough to be walking on hot coals.
Yeah.
And yeah, everyone did it, and this is the thing, he gets you into this state and gets you super fired up. And then he goes, when you get to the hot coals, you just psych yourself up and just walk across. And
but isn't that interesting, right? Like physically, there is no explanation for that. Like in theory, you should be burnt, right?
Exactly. In science and everything, you should be burnt.
Doesn't that make you realize how powerful the mind is?
It is, man.
If you can defy, like, what is that? Like physics or something?
Yeah, it is, man. And that's the thing. And I guess it's just compressing all of that with lots of people and his theories and principles, and it's just really mind blowing, because you can learn a lot of these things over the years. And I'll listen to podcasts and books and stuff with him, and they're great. But these like fully immersive events where you're just stuck in it and that's the only thing you're thinking about, it's just like people walk out of there with completely changed lives, you know. People go in there with lifelong depression, suicidal, and they'll walk out like the happiest person ever, you know. And it was just powerful, you know. And it's that thing again, you know, the people you surround yourself with is a byproduct of who you are. So I think just doing that on another level again with people from all over the world, and it was just a combination of so many things. But the biggest takeaway for me was just that like mindset shift and the stories you tell yourself. So he told the story, which I love. There's two men that went away to the Vietnam War, and they both had similar stories. One went away and they were fighting next to his best friend, and his best friend got shot in the head right next to him, died. And the other guy, they were out fighting, and he stood on a mine and watched them blow up next to him, and they both went home after the war. And the first guy goes, I can't get close to anyone, like everyone that I love will just get taken from me. And he just lived a miserable existence for the rest of his days. And the second guy said, I have to cherish every moment with people because life's precious and it could be taken at any time.
Right, different lens.
Yeah, and they both had almost identical stories, but one guy lived an exceptional life and one guy lived miserable for the rest of his life. And that story stuck with me so much because I'm like, it is so true. You know, you could wake up and say, God damn, it's raining outside, I'm miserable, I'm cold, I'm tired. Or you could say, yeah, it's raining, like
plants are gonna look good.
Yeah, the farmers are gonna be stoked.
Happy,
you know, it's such a, and it sounds so silly because it's such a simple thing. It's just be positive.
But don't you reckon this again comes back to the 5 people you hang out with, right? Like if everyone around you is pumped and sees the sees positivity, then of course you're gonna absorb some of that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas if you do have 5 negative people that are complaining and toxic, then you know, come on.
Yeah. I listened to this on the podcast the other day, and it was really good. So if 1,000 people said to you, David, you look great, you're so good looking, whatever, and then one person goes, I don't know about that. You go home and the only person you're thinking about is the one person that said something negative to you. You're not going to think about the 1,000 people that complimented you. So negativity is so sticky, and you have to be so careful of the negativity that you let into your life because it was such a good point, and I'm like, damn, he's so right. Like I'll still think about something negative that I've said something and it's upset them, and I think about that. I don't think about the positive stuff, you know. So you have to be really careful.
Yeah, we must have a bias toward the negative for some reason, right?
I guess it's a fear. Like it's a mechanism that used to protect you. I guess.
I guess that's it.
We're used to like, don't go over there. It looks scary. There's tigers.
That equals danger. Yeah.
So I guess it's just inbuilt to look for it.
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
Similar example. Had someone that was working retail, and they were talking about how like, you know, they can have a day where they're like 99% positive customers, right? Like everyone's happy, like, you know, good transactions, good sales, like everything's great. And then you get this one dick customer. And what do you focus on, right? The one dick. You go home and you tell your partner about the one dick. I had this fucking dick today. You know, never mind the 99%. That's, you know, great, positive, financially beneficial, right? Crazy.
And it's so perpetuated now. Like you look at the news and social media, like it's all negative. It's all negative. And I guess negativity gets a reaction, you know, and negativity makes you feel a certain way. And, you know, even when you talk about the positivity and saying positive stuff and thinking positive stuff, people are like, oh, that's woo-woo. That's ridiculous, you know? Like, it's such a funny thing to reset your mind around negativity. But I think if you're in a business or you're in the personal development world, I guess you have to get rid of negativity as quickly as possible, you know, because it's so detrimental, especially in a business. You know, even with me, like if my mindset's off one day, it reflects on the business almost immediately. You know what I mean?
Totally
so
agree.
You can see it in real time what this sort of stuff does to you. So it's such a instant feedback loop that you
crazy so, right?
Yeah,
the world is an interesting place, isn't it? There's so many unexplained things, you know, like that whole energy theory. It just sounds so woo-woo, but yet I think we've seen so much evidence time and time again around like the law of attraction and, you know, that snowball effect that you mentioned, right? It's just,
It's an interesting one because, like you said, people sort of think it's woo-woo, but then there's that saying like success leaves clues. And if you look at the most successful, the Tony Robbins and the Conor McGregors and all of these people, they're like, I just manifest everything. I just wake up every morning and I think about it and I dream it and I put it on the mirror and, you know.
And do the work.
And do the work, you know. And you can say it's woo-woo, but then those people are where they are. So at what point do you go, all right, maybe I'll give it a crack.
Maybe there's something in this, yeah.
Maybe there's something there.
Yeah.
And you kind of lose people on the science side of the spirituality and the energy and stuff like that, and people are like, I don't understand, so I don't even bother delving into it, you know. But I've even tried it at the gym. We were driving in to go park, and for those of you who don't know, it's like an 8-story car park, massive car park, and the guy comes out and he goes, there's no parks, don't even bother going in. I'm like, I'm just going to try it. So I was like, I'm going to get a park out the front door, first level. I guarantee I'm getting a park. And I was just thinking about it the whole way up there, and no word of a lie, I got up, white car's tail lights turned on, reversed out, and I pulled in, you know. And it was something just silly like that, but just give it a go, play around with it, I guess, you know.
The other thing that I've become quite fascinated with is this whole serendipity and like acting on weird coincidences and like acting on things that tend to be random coincidences, but like either digging deeper or like following that connection, or I don't know, even just before, there's this Range Rover I keep seeing, right? I know the number plate and it's like, whose is this? Like I keep seeing it, it's everywhere. It's like at the gym, which is not, you know, surprising because I go there so much, but then it's like I keep seeing it around everywhere. It's like, who the fuck owns this? Like there's something here. So I took a photo of it just before. I'm going to send it to a friend of mine that he will know. He'll know whose it is, right? So I don't know. I think like when you chase down those weird things, they sometimes lead to something.
Yeah, and more of them present themselves when you're in that mindset. Like we kept having all these weird coincidences at Tony Robbins, you know, just like the guy we met on the first day in the line. There's like 5,000 people to go, and we were lined up with him. And then the last day we were flying out, he was like on the same plane, like flying home. It's just weird things like
shit,
that,
right?
you know. And I'm like, what are the odds that even happens? You know, and it was just these strange little coincidences or whatever you want to call it. But
I think the cool thing here is that there is still magic in the world, right? Like, regardless of how much tech and science we've got, like there are still these things that we haven't quite unraveled yet.
Nowhere near too, you know, and especially, I mean, I don't personally, but if people that go down the psychedelic route and stuff like that, you know, they're unlocking this consciousness of, you know, all of these other things that you can't see outside of, you know, these walls, you know. So it's it's pretty interesting, and I think we're living in such an interesting time, you know, the best time. I personally, like,
hands down,
the stuff that even I've gone through in my short life is just nuts, you know. To think about AI even 10 years ago is just crazy, you know.
Yeah, we are in a really, really early small slither of humanity too, right? Or civilization, or the world, you know. Like, it's crazy to think that 100 years ago there was there was hardly electricity, you know.
No.
And yet here we are with like these devices that can do it's just mind blowing, right? When you stop and think about it.
Cars into space, you know, like we're just the things that are getting done now is just absolutely insane.
Like, what's going to happen in 100 years' time?
I know.
I don't think we can possibly fathom it.
No, not with the rate of change that's happened, you know, in the 20th century. Like the things that have happened, you know, the iPhone's only 15 years old or something like that, you know, and then now you can say to it, write me a 3,000 word essay about, you know, quantum physics, and it'll write you one in like 40 seconds, and you go, what even is this? Like,
it's like magic, total magic.
It is, yeah. And it's like that. It's like the technology and the, you know, what we were just talking about, the woo-woo is like sort of intertwined now, you know. It's
Yeah, I think that's why like futurists are quite interesting to me, like people that are sort of in that world, right? They're predicting or they're specifying what could happen.
Yeah. Funny, we used to talk about like flying cars was the thing, you know. It was like there's going to be flying cars in the future, and now it's like some of the stuff is even crazier, really, than flying cars. Like the rockets that can go to space and then come back down and land like perfectly in the middle of the ocean, like stuff like that that's going on.
That is mind blowing, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, and I think when it's in a hardware type situation, I think that's even more impressive, you know?
Yeah.
It's like physical things, you know, it's just way more meaningful, I think, than software or, you know, anything like that, right?
Yeah. And it's because, like, software is a little bit more abstract to people, I guess. So we don't really understand it. So when it can do stuff, you're like, well, that's cool, but, like, it's a computer. So, you know, but, like, when
it's almost expected, though, right?
Kind of, yeah.
But, yeah, there still seems to be so many gaps in the tech world. Like, I don't know, I was in Auckland a wee while ago, and you know, we're driving around and we're like looking for a bar, like we're looking for some cold beers. It's been a hard day's work, and it's like, okay, cool, we don't know really where we're going, but we would love to find like an outdoor area, like nice, ideally parking nearby, and within this like trajectory of where we're heading. Like, how good would that be? And like, we're like, fuck, surely this tech should exist, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't, you know, like the maps doesn't really work. Social media doesn't really work. Yelp doesn't, like, nothing really works.
Yeah, not like that refined.
Nah, but surely like with voice, what is it, like the voice technology or whatever it's called, like it's surely coming, you know?
You'd have to think so. With the improvements in AI, surely you'd be able to go, I'm going here.
Yeah.
Tell me the 5 best
based on my
bars
preferences and what you know about me already.
Yeah.
What would you suggest?
Yeah.
You know, and just give it like a whole bunch of criteria.
Yeah. It's also such a scary thought though, because I mean, it's just going to put so many people out of a business. Like in our business, we use it so much, you know, for our copyright, you can even use it for coding on our website. Like you can ask AI, hey, I want, you know, this letter to be red or something.
Really?
It's right up the code and you...
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy. So, I mean, at what point does it get so extreme that everyone's out of a job? Or, you know, like there's so many... I guess your job's always changing and improve and you just move along as it goes. But it's a scary thought, I guess, you know, how far does AI go and how far... Yeah, what happens with it? Where does it stop? Because we're only a year and a half or something in of, you know, ChatGPT.
Mainstream AI,
Yeah. Imagine in 100 years.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to conceptualize those types of big idea, you know, like even the smartest in the world don't seem to have a grasp on like what happens when, you know, all the low skilled jobs are done automatically. Like, you know, how does that affect the economy? How does this affect the workforce? How does this affect everything, right?
Yeah. And that's why, everyone needs to, well, not everyone, but, you know, people just need to learn some skills, you know, especially if they're in a job that, you know, it is replaceable or they don't like or something. It's so important to learn these new skills, learn how to use AI.
Well, you learn how to be good with people. Like, that's the one thing that can't be replaced is your own interpersonal skills. Like, I was just talking to a guy before about him looking for a job, and I'm like, well, just go in there. Like, I know it's unconventional, but like, just show up. Introduce yourself and say, you know, here I am. Like, I'd love a chat. Like, if there's a chance for a coffee or something.
Yeah. It's funny, hey, people think like there's rules to business, and I always kind of used to think that too. There's rules, but once you get in it, it's like it's so scrappy. It's like just figure it out.
It is a dogfight.
Yeah, there's like no real set boundaries other than legalities and stuff like that, but it's like just do what you can to make things work, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And if when you work for someone, you don't really have that same thought. Like, I never used to think that same thing. Like, I wouldn't just go approach someone and say, hey, give me a job, you know? But when you learn these things for yourself, you're like, especially in a business, it's like you have to figure it out.
Well, I think that's it.
You want to make money, figure it out, you know?
That's the exact mindset, right? It's like, what is the shortest path to the outcome I want?
Yeah.
And for me, I think like just applying that lateral thinking, right? Like, clearly applying the traditional route kind of sucks, right? Yeah. You know, how do you stand out?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And that's a tricky one, because how do you stand out? And then sometimes there's nepotism, and, you know, you're in a position that you're better, but this person's the cousin of the boss, you know, like, and it's just so many things that can go against you when you leave the control to a boss or to someone else. You know? So,
yeah, and I guess it's one reason why, you know, business ownership's not for everyone, but at least you do have control over your destiny, or, you know, the win or the loss, right?
Yeah. But, I mean, like you said, it comes with its challenges, man, you know. It's not for everyone.
No, it's really not. Like, there's definitely days that are better than others, right?
Yeah. And generally, there's more days that suck than days that are good, but you know, sometimes you have a win that's exceptionally good and it makes up for those shitty days, you know. So.
Yeah, exactly. How long have you been going with Sweet As Rewards?
So we started in December 2022, but we really started going in March last year, because honestly, with this business, we've just had hurdle after hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. So we started in December and we were a week into our promotion, and then Stripe just like, we don't want to work with you guys, so you can finish this promotion. And then, you know, so then from there to March, it was trying to find a new payment processor, which is particularly hard in New Zealand because they're a little bit, I don't know, it was just way harder than it would have been in Oz, you know. There's so many just different merchants that you could use.
Right.
So we actually ended up with PayPal, which has been really good. But yeah, from there, so then till now, but we've done how many promotions? 12 or 13 promotions now. We've done some pretty cool stuff, given away like Toyota Hilux, Ford Ranger. We gave away like an old Mazda 808, this old rotary thing, which was honestly a heap of shit. But it was a cool car. But it's just so funny. There's old classic cars people love, but we had to start it up, and we had to mix like 2-stroke fuel. So we go to the fuel station and put fuel in, and then we're like weighing out the ratio of oil and mixing it up. And you know, like to drive around in it, it was honestly like a lawnmower, like
low
it
tech.
stunk, and it's like up, you know. But it's so funny because guys just love cars like that. And it was funny to see when we were just cruising around, like filming content and stuff with it. You know, we'd drive past and there'd be like a dad and his son and his daughter out like on a bike ride or something. And the dad and the young boy are like, yeah, and the little girl's like shaking her head at the car. Like it's so funny to see like what men and boys love compared to what girls love. Because Sarah, my partner, just absolutely hated it. We dropped her off at the gym and she's like, get me out of this.
I'm not liking this.
No, she was hating on it. So, but yeah, it's been a ride. Like, it's a very interesting business model. It's a tricky business model. It's a hard one to operate. You know, it's such a cash heavy business model. You know, so we'll give away 30-40 grand sometimes. So it's hard to keep everything going and keep, you know, stepping up promotions and keep everything profitable and stuff like that. So it's not for the faint-hearted for sure, because there's lots of different things that can sort of go wrong, and there's no guarantee of a promotion going well, you know. So
right.
So it's but yeah, I mean, man, I've learned so much. Because of those reasons, you learn even more, because, you know, you're trying to keep costs down. I don't want to pay a developer to do this stuff, so I just learn.
I've got to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've just learned so much. Learned all our marketing. Learned videography. Learned how to build our websites, and I'm not very good at coding, but you know, some of that sort of stuff. And plenty of YouTube, plenty of Google. But yeah, I mean, it's so cool, man. Business is such a great thing, and it's such a stressful thing at the same time, man.
Yeah,
and I guess you know, places like IHF are a good place to bring you back to equilibrium between the highs and lows that can come with business, you know. So.
For sure. Yeah, it's I don't know what the ratios would be, but I would only imagine that there's probably a small segment of the population that's willing to tolerate the good and the bad. Yeah, and I think the thing is with social media and stuff like that, people think it's easy. You know, people will see those lifestyles of, you know, super wealthy people, and they're like, just start a dropshipping business or start a thing, and you know, and then you do it, you're like, this is hard. Like there's way more to this than you know, these people kind of making out. So, and that's why people drop off, is because it's kind of made to look easy, and then you get into it and you're like, oh, there's way more that and it's a real ego hit, because you always go into it guns blazing, especially as people, you know, high achievers or people that want to start businesses. Are generally people that, you know, want more, or they have some sort of ego about them, and then you get into it, you go, oof. Oh shit! I didn't, you know. You realize how much you don't know when you get into business. So, but
man, I love it. I mean, there's nothing that will give you like that instant feedback loop like a business will, and the growth and stuff that comes out of it is it's just phenomenal, really.
So what's the next, say, 12 months look like?
The next 12 months, good question. So we've just got a promotion running now, which finishes tomorrow. So that's $30,000, which is exciting.
Cash, yeah.
Cash money, yeah. So, it's always a good buzz on the live, like ringing someone saying that they've won 30 grand. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
But over the next year, the big goal with it is to turn it into a subscription model. So where I got the idea was in Australia, and that sort of, if you can figure out a subscription business, it's such a great business model, because it's just sort of a guaranteed revenue, I guess. You know what I mean? Like right now, we have to go out and market and fight for every sort of customer and stuff that we get. But once you can bring in a good subscription model, where people, like the value and they're happy to stay on, you pay for that customer once, and then you've got them for, as long as you can keep them, I guess. So I think a subscription is where we want to get to. But there's still a few things in place over the next 12 months we'll have to put in. Subscription models are hard, and they take a lot of, like, people need to trust you for sure. And we've noticed, even like in this industry, a few models that have started, a few businesses that have started, and they just started as a subscription from day one, and within a month they stopped and refunded everyone. And it's just tricky to get people to put their cards out and say, take this every month from me, So it's a lot harder of a sell to get a subscription going. But if you can do it, I mean, there's unlimited room for growth with it. So there's definitely a reason why that so influences enterprise value so positively, right? Like in terms of the value of a business, like it's just it's massively larger multiplier based on recurring revenue rather than project based, right? Or hugely. I think it's like 10 or 11x sometimes. With a subscription versus even if it's the same sort of business model.
Totally.
It's crazy, and it's just because, I mean, marketing is such a heavy expense for us, So if we can market once and have that ongoing revenue, we don't have to market them again the next month, going on. So it's a good model.
So what would need to change to get to that, to get into it? Can you provide that as an option?
We can do it now for sure. Yeah. I guess. I mein, in terms of the infrastructure and stuff that we have, there's not a whole lot that we'd have to do to add that as a feature. It's just having the business at a point and our members at a point where they'd be happy to do that, I guess. So I think it's just consistently showing up with what we're doing month on month and continually adding value to our memberships, continually partnering with cool brands. And we've just launched Sweet As Health and Fitness, which is like so if you become a member, you can get your own app and download it and get workout and training programs and stuff like that. So over the next year, we'll just continually add to that membership for what people actually get with it as well. And then when we're at a point where we think sort of we've got enough of a base that we can justify a subscription, we think we'll launch it then. But in terms of actually setting it up, there's not, like, I could probably get that done in the next 3-4 weeks and have it ready to go. But I think just launching it at the right time is important. I think anyway. Yeah. I could be wrong. It could be completely wrong.
And do you think? Yeah, I mean, it is largely guesswork.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd switch over exclusively to subscription, or have two options?
Potentially. I mean, I guess that would depend on how the subscription looked after we launched it. But I'd love to do that. I think that would be. I think I'd prefer to do that because it incentivizes our subscription members to stay on with us for one, and it's a bit more exclusive if you're a subscription member. It's not just available to anyone, So I think that would definitely be something that we'd look at doing. For sure.
Yeah. And so you've got a business partner, is that right?
Yeah. So my best mate Kane, we grew up together over in Akaroa, and I actually called him from Darwin when we got this idea. And it was funny. So I was just in a point, I was an electrician, and I was just at a crossroads, I guess. I was working for myself, had a little van and stuff like that. And I was just like, I'm just not feeling it. Like, I just don't love it, getting up and, I don't know, doing 10 and 12 hour days, especially in Darwin. It's like 40 degrees every day. It's so hot,
Yeah.
And I get up and like crawl around on a roof and then come home and like got to get up and do it again the next day. And I'm like, I'm just over this, man, and I'm like, well, what's the plan here? Do I continue on being an electrician and, the natural growth is, grow the business, bring more people on, that sort of thing. And then I'm kind of stuck as well. So and Darwin was a good spot for the last decade, but all my family's back here. And I was like, if I grow a big electrical company in Darwin, like I'm stuck in Darwin, It's not a business that you can just get up and leave from because you've got staff and vans and customers and all the stuff that you got to think about, So I was sort of at this point where I'm like, I want a business that I can do from a laptop. I can sit down and go, right, I can do everything from here. And I listened to this podcast. His name's Adrian Portelli. He was sort of the starter of this sort of business model in Australia anyway. And he did this podcast where he was talking about everything. And I'm like, it's just such a cool idea, such a cool concept. And at the time, he was making like insane amount. Like they just named him a billionaire at the start of this year. Like it was just insane, the sort of numbers and stuff he was doing over there. And I thought it's such a cool model that, people, he's partnered with 1,500 different partners around Australia. So, you can jump on and everywhere. You can buy a $10 membership and shop at JB Hi-Fi and save $100. Like you can shop at so many different partners. So it's such a cool idea to be able to just give the value there. Plus they also get a chance. And he was giving away a $1.5 million Gold Coast house at the time that I listened to the podcast. And now he's 10x that, he's given away. He bought he bought 3 out of the 4 block houses this last year, and he's given them all away. It's just nuts what he's sort of done with that business model there.
Did he invent it? Did he create it?
I don't think so.
No.
I think this model's been around for a long time, like in the UK and in America and that sort of thing. I think he was just an early adopter. Well, he was the first in Australia, and I think he just found a market early on. And since then, there's been hundreds in Australia that have sort of popped up. And, obviously, looking at the success that he's had, people think it's
natural, right?
Yeah, 100%. So anyway, I listened to that podcast and I'm like, oh, this could be cool. So I called my mate Kane and said, I got this idea, bro. He's like, oh, yeah. And I told him about it and he didn't really understand it for a while. And then I kept bringing him. I'm like, bro, like,
I'm into this.
I'm keen. Yeah. And then after a while, he's like, okay, sweet. All right, cool. And then we're at this point. I'm like, well, like I live in Darwin. Like, what are we going to do? And then I spoke to Sarah and she's like, well, why don't we just go to New Zealand? I'm like, oh, there we go. So we just packed up our life and moved over here. And then, the rest is history, as they say. But yeah, Kane's been such a massive help. He helps with all the content. He obviously is the face of the brand. He's in everything, all of the lives. He's been such a massive help. So it's cool. It's cool to be able to do something with your mate too. Lots of people say don't get in business with your mate, but we're such good mates that we can have hard conversations if they need to be had, or not that we've ever really had to be honest. But we kind of just both understand each other, and we both understand that we're trying to push business forward, I guess, and this is the best route for it, so it's been great. And he's such a good help, so supportive, and just loves the business as much as me. So it's great.
Would you say you guys have got complementary skill sets?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's funny because when he first started, he was so self-conscious, like didn't want to be on camera. Like it was so funny. And now he's like, you can't get him away from me. Like, bro, like let me in there. But yeah, for sure, we've definitely got complementary skills. Like he just got right into the video editing side of things, like from day one. Really, he sort of took a hold of all that sort of stuff. So he looks after a lot of that stuff, and he brings like I think what is good with our brand is we have this kind of like friend banter in a lot of our things. So it makes our brand a lot more real. Like it's obviously just two mates like just having a crack. It's not like the super strict sort of thing. It's just
slick operation.
Yeah. It's just like a couple of mates like having a go. So yeah. I think that aspect of the business has been really good.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Exciting. How do you, is the new member acquisition, is it mostly through
advertising? For new member acquisition, obviously we have all of our list data that we've collected, but yeah, meta advertising is our biggest advertising network.
Yeah.
We've tried other things. We've tried influencer marketing, which has been good, but it's hard to track with influencers, you know. So you get influencers to post and stuff like that, and it's just hard to quantify sort of the return you get on influencers, you know. Like you get sort of brand exposure and brand trust for an influencer rather than actual sales, you know what I mean? But with Meta, I guess, push the ads out, it'll tell you how much you're spending, how much, you know. So that's why we've used Meta so heavily, and we've just, I mean, influencers are tricky because they're not, just in my experience, they're not like really business people. They're sort of influencers, you know. So you're like, we need you to post this time, these hours, and then they just don't, you know. And they're like,
right.
I was out on the piss, sorry. And I'm like,
right.
You know what I mean? So it's just it's a lot harder to control. But the influencer model, I think, would work really well with our business, but I think maybe more of like an affiliate style where they come in and they're an affiliate for us and we
so they get a bit, you get a bit.
Yeah,
so more of a win-win.
Yeah, more of a win-win, and then
than a fee-for-service type gig.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, but we're just trying to find sort of influencers that fit the brand. It's, we're actually looking at the moment for,
right.
So if you're an influencer listening to this, send us a message. But I think LMCT, which is the one in Australia, he's done quite well with that sort of influencer, bring in different influencers in sort of different areas, which has helped him a lot. And I think it would help. I think organic outreach is the best thing you can do for a business, and it's the lowest cost, you know. Meta advertising is extremely expensive. So if you can grow the brand organically, and if you can, you know, bring in influencers and stuff that help you do that, I think it's a win-win. And I think, you know, if you've got a big enough pie, share it with, you know, you share it with more people. I think it's such a good way to grow a business. I think you look at, you know, the biggest brands in the world, they're like the Kylie Jenners and stuff like that. They're all influencer brands, you know, and it's just because it's so easy for them to make $1 million because they've got millions of people that they can just post a thing and say, buy this, you know. But whereas if you have to push paid advertising out to people to do the same thing, it's just so expensive, you know. So I think it's a good route for any business if they can figure out how to, you know, bring an influencer in or just work out how to grow it organically. I think it's,
I guess the partnership model, you know, or a sponsorship model kind of works.
Yeah,
where it's more of a joint venture, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look at like Athletic Greens. You know, they're big on that.
They're everywhere, right?
Everywhere, every podcast, and it's because of their like affiliate thing is so strong. You know,
right?
So
yes.
Lots of podcasts will just sign up to their affiliate and push AG Greens and then AG1 or whatever it is, and and you know, but everyone knows about it. Everyone knows who Athletic Greens are.
Yeah,
you know? So,
absolutely dominated that market, haven't they?
Yeah, and even to the point where, you know, they don't really have to make money on influencer sales. You know, they could pay the influencer the whole amount, but just their brand awareness now is so massive just through their strategic marketing. You know, like you could push it. I've never seen an ad for Athletic Greens, but I've heard about them because they're on podcasts. Or, you know, they've just seeped through to the market in ways like that. You know, so.
I saw a guy at the gym the other day actually with the Athletic Greens. I think he had a bottle plus maybe it was on his laptop plus he was on his jacket, and I was like,
true.
Yeah, I was like, and this guy looked hardcore. Like,
really?
He looked like he would work for Athletic Greens.
Really?
Yeah. If you were to guess what an Athletic Green employee would look like. Yeah.
Well, we don't like to judge, but yeah, if he was gonna work, maybe you could get him on the
maybe
10 million in 10 years.
Maybe.
You should head him up.
Yeah, he didn't strike me as a member. I think he might have been a day pass type of dude.
Might be trying to infiltrate New Zealand.
Maybe.
Athletic Greens.
Yeah, I don't know much about the business.
No, that's the thing. Neither. I got no real idea.
I know nothing about it.
No.
Is it a spin-off of something? Is it part of another supplement company? Or? We don't.
Honestly, don't even know.
No idea.
No, I'm pretty sure it's just a greens powder. Like I think it's just they put 135 different greens or something in it, mash them all up, and I think that's all it is really. But
I've heard it's not cheap.
No, it's like $140 or something for a bag. Yeah, Oof. It's nuts. Yeah, it's very expensive. Like just eat some broccoli. You can get similar things. But I'm not a hater at all. I think it's great. I think it's so good they've been able to push a brand like that. All those nose strips, there's a brand in America called Hostage, and their influencer marketing is insane too. And they've just been able to grow and grow and grow and grow, and it's just all through the influencer marketing. I think it's now anyway. I think it's like if you look on social media and stuff, it's so saturated with advertising, and now that this AI advertising and stuff's out, you see these like crazy AI. I think like that genuine influencer style marketing, putting your face in front of your brand. Like I think it's a way forward for a lot of brands. I think it's going to become a lot harder to market. I'll look at things on Facebook and you just scroll past it if it's like a clothes shop or something, unless there's a face behind it or someone like grabbing your attention. Everyone's got the attention span of a goldfish now. So
that's really the commodity, isn't it? And I think I don't know. I'd almost say that things are potentially switching back to old school methods, like flyer drops or billboards are more relevant.
You're probably right, man, because I think people are just, even me, I'm so sick of advertising. Like it's everywhere you look, and we've noticed, if we go to, like even New Zealand is nice. So we'll go to Akaroa, and there's no advertising, and it's funny what you notice, like especially in America, everywhere you look, billboards, advertising.
Everywhere, right?
And so you come to the city and it's the same thing, But
yeah. I mean, I think for me the opportunity, the thing that's getting missed is just that service and sales component. Like the weakness of sales, especially in New Zealand, it's just non-existent.
How do you mean? Like
just in terms of a retail situation, or a contact form submission perspective. I just find that the level and intensity of sales here is just super low.
Really?
Like I love being sold, I love to be sold.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Like if I'm in a store, it's not because I've got nothing else to do. Like I'm there for a reason.
Yeah.
But yet, not often am I like impressed.
Interesting. Yeah, you're probably right here, man. You never really get sold in New Zealand. No, I think that might come down to like people don't like that like pushy nature in New Zealand as much. People don't like that aggressive. Well, on the most part, don't like that aggressive. But you go to America, you walk into a shop, like they're selling you as soon as you walk in there, or Australia even. Yeah. I don't know what that is. I guess.
I mean, culturally, it's a lot different, but I think there's just so much money being left on the table. Even in a coffee shop I was in before, talking to the owner, and we're just talking about how like, with the staff being more invested somehow, either through bonuses or through some form of incentive program, like, there's just so much opportunity to sell more product.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a pet peeve. Like I've, having lived in Canada for 8 years, like, and being immersed in that culture, and just how like, service equals sales. Like it's not necessarily an abrasive like hard sell. It's more just like, hey, would you like another arepa? I'd love another arepa. Thank you. Would you like a scone? Yeah, go on. It's not like a obnoxious, annoying sale. It's just
not trying to push you.
It's just enhanced service, right?
Yeah. It's just a reminder, I guess. Also, America's probably similar to Canada, but obviously they work off tips here. So
that is a part of it. For sure.
So you sitting down and you turn around and like your drink's refilled and.
I don't know. I think I don't know what to think actually. I guess just different cultures, different environments are going to have different standards.
I think we even noticed so in the States when we walked into AT&T, which is the Spark, every single person that walked through the door, they're like, hey, welcome to AT&T. And there were like 20 people walking at the time. Hey, welcome to AT&T. And I'm like, their service there is, like, it's just drilled into them, their service and sales and stuff over there. And I guess it's a different culture, like you said. It's such an aggressive aggressive sales culture in America, the whole thing. But it'd be interesting to see if it seeps into New Zealand. You know, I guess we're always 10ish years behind or something, whatever they say, behind, you know, places like that. And Australia's sort of catching up to it. I guess it might slip over here as well. But
I do love. Have you heard of the term positive gossip?
No,
it's not something I'm overly familiar with, but from what I understand, it's really easy to negatively gossip, right? Like, oh, have you seen what blah blah blah's doing?
Yeah,
like that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Hate that.
Yeah.
But like the positive gossip is obviously the opposite. So it's like, I was actually in the Spark store in Riccarton the other day, Westfield, and I was like, holy shit, their service and their sales is consistently good. Be careful if you go in there.
Really?
Yeah, you may walk out with an iPhone.
With a brand new phone.
You may. Yeah, go and test it.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I've been into that store several times over the last 4 or 5 years, and it seems to be that either their management, their leadership, the culture is around pretty good sales.
Right.
Pretty good service, yeah.
Well, I'll keep that in mind because I don't really want to be dropping $2,000 on a phone every time I go to Westfield.
Nah, yeah. No, it's. I mean, for me, I just get interested in that stuff, right? The psychology and the social concept of, you know, how that comes to be.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's coincidental.
No.
I don't think anything is accidental. So
yeah, it
would be interesting to know if there's like just been a string of managers that are really like really into it, and presumably it wouldn't be the same manager that's been there for 5 years. So you know, there must be some kind of passing the baton, right?
Passing the torch.
Yeah. So
interesting. Have you found that now that you're in the business sort of coaching space, you look like, are you looking for that sort of stuff more, or you've always sort of taken
I've always
notice
been
of it?
into it. Yeah, I've always been weirdly curious about these types of thing.
Yeah. How is the business coaching going? Are you loving it?
I am loving it. Yeah,
cool.
It's been about 9 months now.
Yep.
And I found my thing. I found my ikigai.
Nice.
Found my calling, I think.
Nice.
So
That's
really
good to
enjoying
hear,
it.
man.
It is. Yeah, it's taken a while, but
but you know, that's the thing. I guess it's funny when you leave school and they're like, you need to have it figured out, you know. And I'm like, that's so not true. Like,
no,
that's all it is. It's like, I'll try this and it doesn't work, or I didn't like it, try something else, you know. And I guess the more things, those probably, I don't have many regrets, but I wish I started business when I left school and just started something and tried it, you know, because I guess it's just an accumulation of failures and lessons and stuff along the way, and the earlier you can start that process,
totally,
you know, the better, the quicker that you can get there. So it's amazing that you found something that you love, man, because so many people out there don't.
Yeah, I mean, it has taken 20 years and like 7 other businesses to get to this point, like starting the first one in the second to last year of high school, and like experimenting and just constantly being curious, you know, like I've sort of done a few different types of ownership structure, like owner operator partnerships, investor type dynamics, and it's just interesting, right, having those different points of reference. I think that gives me the empathy that maybe some other coaches might not have if they haven't been in it themselves, like having had that stress of like payroll's due and there's not enough for payroll. You know, those are real like stressful moments. And I think most people that have got a business with teams like can understand that, right? Well, that's a good thing, man. And it's like getting a fitness coach that's like overweight, you know. It's like you want someone that's been in the trenches or practicing what they preach or doing that, you know, because how do you learn something from someone that, you know, is not even putting it into practice themselves or has never done it? You know, there's so many courses and coaches and stuff online that have like, they're like 18. I'm like, you haven't even had a business. Like, how the hell are you going to tell me what to do when, right? Shit's hitting the fan? Like, and that's when you need a coach. You need someone to go, just relax, figure it out, you know. But that's right.
It's hard to get that comfort from someone that hasn't been there and done it, you know. So I think, it's so cool, man. And I guess it's great that you found it, and it's great that you've had that experience over the years, because you might not have loved it if you started it when you were 18.
It's a really good point.
So it's probably from all the trials and tribulations and stuff that is why you do love it now.
And it's funny how it came about by accident, you know. It's not something that I would have potentially have explored if it wasn't for that chat with the counsellor, and she's like, give it a go.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how it came about. I didn't feel like I was qualified or that I would be the right person to do it, but sometimes you just need that bit of encouragement, right?
That's it, eh? You just need that one person to say, just give it a go, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I find that with the clients that I'm working with at the moment, a lot of them are benefiting from just somebody encouraging them to be like, you know, you can do this, or like there's nothing holding you back. It's like that reference you made at the start about, you know, optimizing what's in the top 4 inches or whatever, if you can just become a little bit better, a little bit sharper, and draw on different perspectives and influences, then
it's so funny that like one comment can change the whole trajectory.
Totally. Isn't that wild?
It's crazy, man.
It's crazy when you think about it.
It is, hey, it is. And you know, if you didn't say that, or if you didn't have that meeting or whatever, you wouldn't have found your ikigai.
Yeah, that's right.
And I guess that brings it back to having conversations with more people, because that one pearl of wisdom could be in a conversation with someone you never thought, you know?
That's exactly right. Yeah, and that's why, you know, whether that's, you know, as you say, organic conversations with people that you're not paying for their time, or whether it's using coaches or consultants or specialists, or just, you know, hanging around with good people. That's the sort of name of the game here, right?
Yeah, that's like the through line of every high achiever seems to say. It's like the people you spend the most time with.
Yeah, just radically discard any losers. I think that's like the savage truth of it. Like, if people are negative, if they're not, you know, just tune out people, I think. Yeah,
100%. How have you found, like, did you find any imposter syndrome or anything?
Oh, huge amounts, but I think that's just a symptom of growth. Like, I think that's a symptom of doing things that are different to what you've done. And I think that'll continue to be a factor, you know, like I've got, you know, goals to grow a team and to keep on going down this trajectory, and I definitely have no illusions around not experiencing that. But, you know, I think it's almost a green flag to continue. I think it's a good sign.
How do you deal with it when it comes up?
I think in my mind, I just phrase it as like, look, I'm just helping people, right? I'm just trying to help people. I don't pretend to have all the answers, and I don't pretend to know it all. I just want to come at it from a place of help, and you know, I'm not going to be for everyone, and that's fine. So I think alignment's the magic word that's come up a lot in the last 2 weeks. It's really just about trying to find alignment, like clients that align with me and who I am and see value. But I think the biggest takeaway that I've learned probably in the last, say, 15 months since starting the challenge has been to like work with people that you're aligned with, whether that's through like friends, customers, clients, anything. You know, I just find like life's just a lot more seamless that way.
No, that's cool, man. I'm honestly really glad that you found that, because it's so important. So many people don't. So,
it's
really cool.
It's a good call to action though for anyone listening, just to keep searching and like have conversations, try different things. Be curious. Especially
if you don't like the thing that you're doing. Like, why keep doing it? You know, and I guess people, you know, you get stuck in you got pay, you know, you got bills to pay and stuff like that, but you know, you're a long time dead, so you better be enjoying the time that you've got here, you know. It's been taken away so quickly, and sometimes you don't think about that, you know.
I know.
You think you're going to live to 120 and, you know, whatever, but I mean, it's important, man. Very, very important for people to give things a go.
Yeah, that's like, it's always been a huge passion of mine, right? It's like encouraging people to do things a bit differently, or to consider other options. I think COVID was helpful in a way that it did force people to have a hard reset, you know, like a real like hard disruption to everyday life. So I think that was the positive that came out of it, was like, oh shit, okay.
I agree.
This is the break that sometimes you need, right?
It was just that shift in perspective, or shift in like, and people kind of being faced with their own mortality, especially at the start of COVID. You're like, oh, like we could all die, we could all be gone because of this virus, and people going, like, have I done what I wanted to do? You know, you're forced to think about your own mortality, especially in the start when people were dropping dead in the street in New York and stuff.
Totally.
You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, there's so much fear around, right?
Yeah, there was, man.
Real or imagined, you know, like it was just insane. I feel bad stealing this tradition so directly, but it's okay, right?
Yeah, of course it is. There's a saying, what is it saying?
Something about a thief and like a good thief and a bad thief?
Yeah.
I know the one.
Yeah. I can't think of it.
The tradition that we're going to start is you're going to pass on a question to the next guest.
Yep.
And the question I have for you from the last guest is, what is your 10-year dream or vision?
Good question. My 10-year dream and vision. It's funny how much it sort of changes and the further into business and stuff that you get. I mean, my ultimate dream is just be financially free, which to me means have so much money that money's never an issue again. It's not an issue for my family. It's not an issue for my friends. It's not an issue for anyone around me. And I can just live the life that I want to live. I can travel when I want. I can start businesses that I love doing. I can help more people. I can do that. So I guess the 10-year goal is not, it's not really the mansion on the hill. I mean, I would still love that, but I think it's just being 100% free, completely detached from any control from anyone, to be able to live in any part of the world that I want. When my family have health issues or can't pay the mortgage or something, it's fine, you know. Like that's my ultimate goal, and there's no real number figure on it. But it's just to be, financially free. I don't like the idea of ever, and COVID really shined a light on that. I don't like the idea of being told what to do. You know, and I think once you can get your financial position to a point where it doesn't, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's like they say, it's fuck you money, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely power in that, right?
Yeah. And it just, it amplifies the person that you are, So some people can look at that and say, fuck, why do you need all that money? And I'm like, well, I look at it like I can live the life that I want to live. I can do anything that I want, and be happy when I get to my deathbed one day and say, I've given it a good crack. I've helped as many people as I could. Helped my family. I've supported and loved the people around me, and had some adventures doing it. I think, to me, that's the most important thing. I think is just having a life that one day you're going to leave and be proud of, and one that you just love. One that you've said, shit, that was a ride. And I'd love to do it again. Not get to the end and say, like, I wish I tried that, or I wish I did that, So,
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. This has been a pleasure, man. I love what you're doing. I've listened to so many of your podcasts, especially in preparation for this. I was like, right, what's he going to ask me? What do I say? So, but you're doing a great job, man. And I really appreciate you showing me, and, you bring on so many cool guests around Christchurch, and it's cool to see so many high achievers just in Christchurch alone. There's so many people here. Sometimes you don't realize that. You listen to these podcasts overseas and that sort of thing, and you go, oh, they're all over in America or all over overseas or whatever. But it's cool because there's so many achievers here in Christchurch, so you're really shining a light on that. So
yeah, it's really cool. It's in our own backyard, right?
It is, man. It is, and you're definitely shining a light on it. So you're doing a good job.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you for the Arepa too.
Oh, no worries, man. No worries. I hope it helped.
I love those things. They're so good.
Arepa, if you're listening, sponsor.
Yeah, I would really love to get there. One of the founders, one of the co-founders on here. That would be cool.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Because it's a product I love, and I do like to interact with brands that I love. Like IHF.
For sure. I'm sure they'd be happy to, man. They seem like they're very driven on social media and that sort of thing.
Yeah, they seem like good dudes, right?
Yeah. And you've got a good track record of guests and stuff, so I think it's achievable for sure.
Yeah, cool. Okay, nice. All right, well, thanks for listening. We'll see you back in the next one.